Hi everyone, I'm so proud of you for making it this far. We're getting so close to actually realizing your dream of writing that first book and taking your idea to a manuscript. So far we've talked ideas and inspiration. We've talked character development. We've talked outlining. So hopefully right now you have an outline for your first book. I really am so excited for you because that's a big step. So our next step before we actually just hit the ground running and finish out writing is to talk about point of view. Go back and look at your first scene of your novel if you started that in the last lesson. You've already picked a point of view, but I want to talk about whether or not you should keep that point of view and some considerations for you to think about. Point of view is one of the most important choices we have as a writer because it's going to impact the entire novel and the reader's impression of the entire novel. So I want to talk about that now. I want to talk about how you choose between the types. So as writers, we can choose between first, second, or third person narration. Second person narration is where you use the pronoun you. It's the author talking to the audience. It is rarely used. It's really hard to pull off. Caroline Kepney's series You, which you may have seen on Netflix, does this really well. So in the series, he's a stalker talking basically to his victim. And it works really well to create that creepy vibe. But for most of you, you're going to be picking between first and third person. First person is where you use I and you're inside the character's head. So the beautiful thing about this is if you're writing an introspective novel where we're spending a lot of time in your character's head and exploring the emotions they're feeling, this is a great choice for you. It works really well in a lot of romance novels because you really just get to dig into that emotion. It is nice because you get to explore these kind of psychological aspects of your story. I like writing in first person a lot for these reasons. If you write in first person, you can still do two different characters. So you could have two characters each telling their story in first person back and forth. Just make sure that you only switch out every chapter. Don't just switch randomly in the middle of the chapter. The problem with first person is it can slow the action down. So if you're writing in thriller or horror, it might not be your best choice. A lot of thriller and horror writers want it to be fast-paced, exciting. I've written a few thriller books in first person, and those were some of the critiques of the book were that it was too slow-paced and introspective. So you really have to think about what genre you're writing in and what people prefer. Third person, you have a lot of options. Limited, you have omniscient, and objective point of view. Limited omniscient feels like first person. We're using he or she pronouns, but we're inside one character's head. So just like in first person, we're only seeing one character's perspective of the story. The nice thing is that it's a little bit removed, so it can create more of that excitement. So thriller and horror works really well in this genre, but really many genres use limited omniscient narration. The problem you might run into with this is using the character's name too often or using the pronouns too often to drive your sentences, so that's something you have to watch for. Omniscient is where we see many characters' thoughts and feelings. It's like we can see inside almost everyone's head. I've seen this done sometimes in horror, but it can be difficult to pull off because there really aren't any secrets for the reader to reveal. You're seeing everyone's perspective. A lot of the classic authors used omniscient. Some modern writers use omniscient, but it's hard because you don't have as many secrets. So think about that. Objective is where we don't see inside any character's thoughts or feelings, and that is a really weird writing style. There are lots of secrets. It's more of an interpretive novel. If you look up Hills Like White Elephants by Hemingway, that's a perfect example of what objective point of view looks like. So you really have to think about this and think about your genre when you're choosing your point of view, because changing the point of view will change your entire feel of the novel. There are a couple novels I've written that I wish I had written in a different point of view because I think they would have made it more impactful. So here's what I want you to do today, your mini assignment. I want you to go to your bookshelf, find a book in your genre you're writing in that is one of your favorites, your absolute favorite. You love it. Take a look at what point of view it's in, because that might be a really good clue for you to help you figure out what kind of point of view you should write in. Okay, so join me in the last lesson, the next video. We're going to talk about tips to actually just hitting the ground running and getting this book written. I'm so excited for you.